keys to the game from my perspective, we had a really hard time generating pass rush with 4 guys, and they got us off balance a little bit early with some aspects of the running game, but we were really never able to generate any real pressure with a 4-man rush. We went to some pressure stuff, and that's going to leave some of our young corners on an island, and we knew they had great skill. And so, from that standpoint, their offense against our defense, I thought their offensive line just did a phenomenal job, and their quarterback was grooved, ready to go. Offensively, it was going to be imperative for us to run the football. We felt like it was going to be really important to keep their defense on the field. I think there was a time in the game that we might have had that, but we've got to be more mature to finish off drives, not have some things like holding calls or some misassignments, and that's all part of a maturation process with the young offensive line. Unfortunately, we weren't given the latitude to play young today. We're going to need to play well. And, I thought the kicking game was probably against us too. Some of the field position that was generated was going to be important for us to capitalize on that. To beat Washington State, we weren't going to have to play an outer body experience. We just need to play well, and I don't think we played well today. And so we'll take a look at the tape tomorrow. A lot of times I've learned through the years it's really maybe an overstep to make general assumptions, but those that I just stated I think are probably going to be true when I watch the tape later on tonight. So tough loss. We did have a couple injuries that we encountered during the course of the game. I'll know a little bit more about that as we go. So at this time, any questions anybody might have? Yes.
With the penalties, you mentioned a lot of penalties in sports. Mm-hmm. Like that's pretty uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I'm going to be real guarded when I start talking about unsportsmanlike penalties. I understand they were out there. I know Carl Granderson, he can't hear. And I mentioned that, so, but I'm not going to make any more comments on those. But I understand your question. Yep, go ahead, Tracy.
Nico's situation?
Yeah.
Were you pleased at all with the way the freshmen came in and they seemed
to hold their own? Javon Bigelow, I think, has got great promise, but we're going to need to have a running back by committee. Nico's got some things with his ribs. I don't think there's a fracture, but was not able to return to the game, Tracy. And so Nico he's really a great inside zone runner, and we were having success there. But we've got to learn how to deal with a lot of things when we don't have our top running back in there. And so it's an opportunity for these younger guys to shine. Yeah, Robert?
You mentioned you weren't able to get the pass rush, and that kind of exposes your corners. I know CJ had kind of a rough game, and he's a young player. Was that more of the result of the lack of pass rush, or was it just, just a rough day against some very, like you said?
Yeah, here's what I think we need to take a measured view. I think Wazoo's receivers I think you're going to find that they're probably going to be in the upper echelon of the Pac-12. And they may be. I know their receiver coach really well, Steve Spurrier, and he was shocked on the quality of players that they have. Now, we're going to face other good players that have good speed, but we knew going in, Robert, that matchup was going to be something that we were going to be guarded about. And as a result, we were going to need to generate some rush up front, and we just were never able to do that. So we got exposed. It's going to be a learning experience. We got to get these young guys back. I have to recognize this is a great opportunity, but we had a ton of young guys, and we can say, okay, I'm saying an excuse or whatever. That's a fact, and we're playing Missouri next week. And so there's got to be a message to those guys in the locker room that we have confidence in them. But we got to come bring our A game. You're going to play against a good team. You can't shoot yourself in the foot, and I think we did that. The margin for doing that, Robert, was pretty slim this afternoon, and we didn't get it done. I also want to think, I think Washington State's going to be a really good football team. And their defensive coordinator, Tracy Clays, I thought did a nice job scheme-wise against us. Once again, the key was going to be, running the football. And we were close, and that didn't happen. Then we had too many 3-and-outs, and I think our defense got worn down. Yes?
Coach, how would you assess Tyler's play today?
A little bit of a mixed bag, I thought he had some really good balls. There was one that was going to be a touchdown that unfortunately we didn't bring in. Some of the other short control passing game was inaccurate, and that's got to improve. I thought he managed the game well. Washington State did a lot of things that were pretty complicated as far as making us do certain things offensively. So from that standpoint, he was pretty good. But it'll be a growing experience. I was disappointed. It's uncharacteristic for us to take a delay a game. And I've been guarded about that. Our last couple quarterbacks were pretty experienced, and I gave him quite a bit of latitude to get that snap in before I burned a timeout, and that came back to bite us a little bit today. Yes, Robert.
You used Bez and Tyler, your two nickels.
Right.
Is that kind of plan? How did you think that worked?
Well, some of it just came down to their personnel groupings, and so we were very keen with that. They gave us time to adjust. We didn't know what groupings that Coach Leach would use. That's what he used, and so that was our package. Yes.
So what can you do specifically to address the problems in the kicking game?
Well, let's talk about what you perceive as problems and articulate those, and then I'll go through them one by one. So what are they? First of all, where are you from? I don't. Okay, great. Yeah, go ahead.
As far as being able to change field position with the punting game.
Well, some of that comes down to our coverage and getting a couple better punts. I think if we can get ourselves in the 40-yard range, we'll certainly do that. They had a nice punting game, and we didn't do a great job of getting hooked up with some of the guys. Austin Conway's a good return man, but those elements of their guys running down against our guys, that's sometimes an element of depth of speed, and that can be attributed to some special teams, where last week I thought we had an advantage. And you're going to see that when you have a perennial bowl team that's Pac-12, and those things come into play there. I was disappointed on the part on the kickoff. We had the snafu where they did a pooch kick. We've got to get that cleaned up. I thought we lost a lot, and we've got to address that. It's our second game last week. Everything was great. There's work to be done there. Thanks. I'm glad you're from Casper. Yeah. Yes.
Anything you mentioned, Nico injury, any other injury updates that you know of right now?
No, we didn't have Kevin Prosser for a while. I'll find out a little bit more about him. He was out, then he came back in. I don't know. I don't think he was able to finish. Other things? Yes. No. Yes.
I'm Brady with Star.
Okay, good. You guys are new guys. All right, go ahead.
But you alluded to offensive line started getting a push there. So the second quarter started working. What was so different in the second half where they weren't able to sustain that throughout? Was Washington State mixing up their stunts or anything?
I think we were at a point where we were really, really close. The one drive where we were going down and we ended up converting on a field goal. That was right there. That was a really, really close part of the game. And so some of it, we had a couple missed blocks, missed assignments on the backside. Some of it was our running back missed a cut here or there, but we were still getting some pretty good yards. I think the future looks really bright for us as far as running the football, and we're going to need to continue to do that. And then we also got to be able to stay on the field when we throw the ball. We got to, some short control passing games, some bubbles and things like that. We've got to get that cleaned out. Yes, Robert.
I saw Ruby starting at right tackle.
Yeah.
So not able to go.
Yeah, they. I know I listed Alonzo, and I was told he was going to be cleared, and then I think he had some swelling at the last moment, and what they said was he could be available on an emergency use only, and so that's where it was at. So it's a good point. Another question over here? Yes.
Created a couple turnovers, 14 points on turnovers too. That's got to be a nice positive.
You're making that's way good question. Appreciate that. Where are you from?
Sheridan Press.
Sheridan Press. I like you better than the Casper guys. No, you're right. And we were going to need to do more of that. But that game had some ebb and flows. It's disappointing though. I'm frustrated and disappointing. I know our coaches are frustrating and disappointing, and I'm going to assume there's a bunch of young men in that locker room where they're frustrated and disappointed because we can play better and we need to play better. And next week we're playing an SEC team, and price of poker goes up, so we need to get ourselves ready to go. So good question. Thanks for leaving me on a high note as I leave.